Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 192, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
And for the record, I did that without looking at the show notes because I didn't have the right page up, and I didn't screw it up.
But the big question is, did you hit record?
I did hit record, although the intro might be a little shorter than normal. For those on the podcast, too many buttons to hit at one time, and I have screwed that up multiple times, but this time I got it right. I even got the intro right, which I'm really proud of myself because I keep screwing that up. Even when I read it directly off of the page that I wrote it on, I still screw it up. 192 episodes in, and I finally get something right on the first try. Welcome to podcasting.
Round of applause for more.
Also, give a shout out to all our podcasting brethren out there for yesterday was International Podcast Day, which apparently I didn't know about until yesterday, and otherwise,
I just now found out about it, so yeah. There you
go. Well, if anyone followed our Twitter feed, we got tagged in a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter. So, thanks out there to Randy, who does oh shit, I forgot the name of his podcast. Now I forget. God dang it, I screw it up already. Soundtrack Alley. Randy over at Soundtrack Alley. We were tagged in some stuff from along with some other podcast arcade brethren. Some of the worst comic podcasts ever. Those guys tagged us in some stuff. So there was lots of stuff with at Geekvice in these tweets. So. We had a lot of information, and I really wasn't around my phone or did much anything with my phone yesterday because I was busy doing sports stuff and kids stuff, and getting my head shaved. So, yeah. So
that's why you can't remember anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't realize it until I'd gotten home at about 10:30 last night after the sporting game. I got home and I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh, look at this. I got, my phone says I have 15 notifications. And I look at it like, they're all for Twitter. I don't never get that many. Geekvice doesn't get that many Twitter things. I don't even do that much tweeting. And that's what it was. So apparently yesterday was International Podcast Day. So hooray for podcasting.
Yeah, we're always on top of everything. We know everything down to the minute, apparently.
Yes, we do. If it wasn't for us, the world would have burned down years ago.
Exactly.
So, hooray for that. Glad all those people got to enjoy this. And today is our episode for International Podcasting Day, which next year, this is the first time I've ever heard of this. I don't think this has been a thing previous years. I think this might be its first year. I'm going to have to do a little research into that. Maybe next year we'll do some sort of event for it. I don't know. I don't know. We also have Holly's World going strong. Another episode up this week, right?
There won't be one this week. Mostly because I will not be around to do the technical stuff. So we'll get one up next week.
Makes sense.
It's been a little bit nutty around the podcasting household. So we'll get her done.
Yeah, and Kip's getting ready to be gone for the next 4 days, so that means I have to get this podcast published and posted up so that all the downloaders and podcaster listeners can hear all this. So hopefully I get that right and I don't screw it up. Fingers crossed, guys.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Hey, if it was hard to do, I wouldn't be able to do it. So.
Right. Right. So this week we've spent too long away from the board game world, so we are back into the board games, which sadly I haven't got to play very much of. We've just been too crazy. Life's been too busy. Haven't had enough downtime, so I'm actually looking forward to this winter where maybe it's too cold to really go outside and do stuff. Maybe I'll be able to play some more board games. But the thing that we wanted to talk about, Kip and I were talking about this last week, and something that everybody has these areas where how do you find out about new games? Where do you go? Do you just go to a website? And then if you just go to a website, that just tells you, hey, there's this new game coming out. Where do you get your reviews? Like, how do you decide if you're going to get something? Do you just make your own decision off of no information, just reading the back of the box, or do you go watch somebody else who's played the game or something like that? And from all the big games that are out there, board games have been around for so long. What if there's something you just haven't seen before? How do you find new stuff to add to your collection, and whether or not it's worth adding to your collection? So we talked about this, and we came up with some ideas for ones that places that we like to pull information from. And Kip, why don't you start us off? Which one of your favorites?
Well, I'm going to start this off by talking about the first, I guess, YouTube videos that I watched. Okay, so I'm a big board game geek guy. I go to that website multiple times a day.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, on the front page, there's the video section, and luckily they tell you what language they're in before you click on them, because there's quite a few of them that are not English, FYI.
Yeah, those ones are a little rough.
Yeah. So it all started off innocently enough, Tom Vassell with Dice Tower.
Yes.
Always seems to come up every time you look at any game. So I actually started off watching a lot of Tom Vassell videos. Then from there, I kind of graduated into, which is actually my favorite reviewers of all time, and that is Shut Up and Sit Down.
Yeah.
I love those guys. They're British. They're way smarter than me, which is still not a very high bar, but trust me, they're smart. And their videos are fun because they kind of tell a story. Like the video for Letters from Whitechapel. The video is kind of shot in almost like a horror genre. There's the dark alleys. There's kind of this Halloween feel to the whole thing. And then they get into it and tell you about the game and what they like, what they don't like. It's that kind of thing. Sometimes the story they tell, you're like, I don't get it, but it's probably just because they're smarter than I am, so I just let it go. But I like them not only for that reason, but also their reviews seem to be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I liked this game, please send me more free games. They're more of a brutally honest group. They may talk about a game with a certain mechanic and say, it's fine, but you should get this other game instead because it's the same mechanic and it's a much better game. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I try not to get a lot of games that are the same mechanic. Until I bought Legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I was like, I'm not buying another deck builder. I'm tired of deck builders, but famous last words, I ended up buying another deck builder. But that's just the way it is. But, they point things out to you like that, or they'll play a game and absolutely love it and talk about how it's the greatest game in the world, or they'll talk about how crappy this game truly is. Not saying I agree with them every time. Their review of Scythe was pretty lukewarm. I love the game. So
right.
I don't watch them because I always agree with them. I watch them because I'm entertained.
Yeah. Well, and I'd also like to I want to second the part of being brutally honest. I'm trying to remember the game that they reviewed. It was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was one where you were trying to build things and you were kind of going around in a circle. You had sent me the video for it, and it was just like, this game's not very much fun, but the review that they did of it was hilarious, and it was. And they were brutally honest when the fact that it's like, well, you've got these parts and you can do this thing, but then there's this other thing over here that really doesn't mesh well with this over here, but you can do this too, and that's fun, and this is kind of fun, but when you put them together, it's no longer fun, and you're just like, oh, you're. I see where they're going. You know, you see what they're saying, and you understand where they're coming from, and it's just so, it just is so refreshing to have somebody to give you just a straight answer and not sugarcoat things, not be afraid, because that's honestly one of my biggest worries when I watch a review, whether whether it's for a board game or whether it's for a video game or whether it's for anything, is you never know if they're paid or not. Did they receive this for free and so they feel like they need to give it a positive review so they can get more stuff back? When somebody's brutally honest and says in any of their videos, if they're brutally honest once, just where they say, you know, this is good, but not good enough, it just makes you feel like, or at least makes me feel like they're honest in all of their videos, and that you never then you don't have to worry about whether or not they're receiving money or not receiving money, whether they're receiving these games for free or whether they're just honestly reviewing these games because they enjoy them, or because, hey, this is a game out here and we've played this and this is what we think. um, so it's I like Shut Up and Sit Down. I think they do a really good job.
Yeah, and on top of being brutally honest, they don't always agree with each other, which I'm fine with as well. Istanbul is a good example of that. The story behind it is one of them has to sneak around with the game because the other one hates it. But that's the fun. They
Right.
don't both agree. Not everybody sits down and plays a game and they all like agree on whether the game was great or not. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one of the other videos that I came across, and I came across it's been around for a long time. It's in its seventh season. It's one that does more season by season by season. Is called Watch It Played, and this is more of a it's more of a rules breakdown to the games with an opinion added to it. Um, I really like Watch It Played because, first of all, the guy is very um, very articulate. He can explain what you need to do in a turn or to follow the rules, and when you get done listening to him, you go, or at least I go, oh, that that's how you do it, and it sticks in my head. It's such a way of explaining things to where when I get done watching him, um, where I found him the most, like where I kind of got hooked on him completely. I'd seen it a few times here and there, but where I really got hooked on it was when I bought Mice and Mystics and I tried to play it the first time, and I was just pissed off beyond belief because the rules didn't make sense. The book, reading it, didn't make sense in my head. I wasn't putting the pieces together the way the book was written to be able to play the game and to be able to teach somebody else how to play the game, because that's what I needed to do. I needed to teach my kids how to play. Well, the when I Watch It Played and their review and their rules breakdown of Mice and Mystics, First of all, he walked through all the rules, but then he actually sat down and played the game with his son on the video, and it ended up taking multiple segments, but they played through all the rules. They played through like the first mission, the first chapter of Mice and Mystics, and walked through everything like, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, and here's how this rule works. Bam, bam, bam. And when I got done watching his videos, I felt like when I went back and read the rule book, it all made sense. Like, it all fell together. So he does an incredible job with that. His videos are very well, they don't have a story to them or anything like shut up and sit down, but they break the rules down in a way of how to play the game that's just top notch. Like, just one of my favorites.
I have watched a few of theirs, and anybody who's listened to this podcast or anybody who's actually played a game with me realizes getting the rules down is not a strong suit for me.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm one of those people that'll read it and I think, oh, I've got this, and then set up the board and get going. It's like, oh man, we forgot to do this, or we forgot to do that, or we've been playing this part wrong the whole time. So playing games with me, that's just a constant. So I will watch certain videos, and Watch It Played is one of them, where I just want to watch the rules. I don't care what you thought of the game. I just want to know how to play the damn game.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why shows like his works for me.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I've already bought the game. I don't care what you think about it. I just want a quick way to learn how to play it.
Right. Which happens a lot and sometimes it's almost easier. I've actually done it for a few times. Even Legendary, when I first started playing Legendary, I understood the rules. I understand how to play the game, and was playing through it and was like, yeah, I'm good. And I just ended up running across his video, and I watched it. I'm like, oh, there's a little nuance to one of those rules that I read over and thought I understood, but the way he was implementing it was different, and it made the game harder. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to try that. So, that's now how we play the game. And so there's little things like that. He's got such cachet with everything, and with I don't think it was in I don't think it was in Legendary, but I think it was in Mice and Mystics. He actually had the creator of the game on the show, like called in with one of the things that they kind of made a mistake with, and they actually got the creator of the game to call in and say, no, this is actually how it works. And I thought that was great,
Yeah.
So Watch It Played is definitely worth checking out if you're looking for a rules breakdown.
Which I always am.
Yeah. Always important. Yeah, and I actually think it's kind of funny, we're talking about board games and I'm wearing a video game t-shirt, hey, maybe I should change.
It's okay, I'm wearing a Bigfoot Hide-Seek Champions t-shirt, so.
Yeah, but that kind of works because it's Sasquatch, right? Bigfoot and Sasquatch are the same thing, right?
Correct, yes.
So we got Flapjack. Well, hey, the Yeti and Bigfoot are different, right?
Different continents.
Okay, that's what makes them different. See, you're the Bigfoot expert. I just play Flapjacks and Sasquatches all the time.
Yeah, I have them over for Thanksgiving dinner and stuff, so I know all about Bigfoot.
Right. So, what else do you got there, Kip?
Okay, this is a new find. I was searching Letters from Whitechapel. I'm going to bring this game up a lot because it's a game I'm really considering strongly on pulling the trigger. So I was trying to find any video I could find on Letters from Whitechapel, and a lot of them explained how the game was played, but didn't really do like a rules dive. Didn't do a playthrough where you got to see how things worked. I watched an unboxing and they unboxed pieces, and then I watched a video on how to play, and some of the pieces I saw come out of the box weren't in the how to play video. And so in my search to find the perfect video, I found another video group called Girls Game Shelf. And I didn't start watching because it had girls in the title, surprisingly. But I did watch because the first video was them actually playing Letters from Whitechapel. It was, oh shoot. There was only two people playing. One was Jack the Ripper, and the other one played the four cops, if you will.
Gotcha.
And they played the entire game, explained every step, explained the rules, why things happened the way they happened. And then afterwards, they did the thing that I like to do after a game because I'm this person. One of the person who played as the police questioned her moves that she made at the end. Jack the Ripper ended up getting away. The cops never caught him in their game. And the whole time she's like second guessing some of the moves, like I should have moved here and checked this, I should have done that. And that is me. I'm that game player. The first few times I play a game, I'll have made some sort of strategic error, and it'll cost me the game. And then I sit there afterwards going, man, I wish I would have done this instead. Or I wasted that one entire turn doing something I didn't need to do. So that was me. Watching me actually struggle with the fact that I just made a couple of stupid moves and that cost me the game. And then another part I liked about that video was the person who won, who was actually the main, probably the creator of the show. She was the one that always has all the rules down. And she's always the one that seems to win most of the time. And that reminded me of my gaming group as well. Jason, if you're listening, I know you're listening.
Oh, he is.
She reminded me of Jason. She's good at teaching the game, good at the strategy behind the game, wins probably 90% of the time, and when she doesn't win, it's dang close. Somebody just had to play out of their mind to win that game. So there was just aspects of that gaming groups that she would put together that just reminded me of my gaming group. There's the two staples, the main Jason-like character, and then the sidekick me who just makes the mistakes, and then people that they can just get to play. It just reminds me of what it's like for me to get games together. So,
that's cool.
And of course, besides the rules explanation and things like that, they actually play through the game.
Yeah.
And they're having a good time doing it, and they have that interaction that we all have when we're playing a game where you're teasing each other or whatever you're doing. It's just a joy to watch. I just really enjoy Girls Game Shelf.
I'm gonna have to check that one out because that's one of the I really enjoy the videos that go and play through at least part of the game when they're trying to explain a game, because you can explain things perfectly. You can explain them exactly how they're supposed to be, but if you don't see them in action, if you don't see how the rules are supposed to play out in a certain order, or when this particular situation is going to pop up, it's hard to really grasp as an outsider looking in. You might understand exactly what you're trying to portray when you're explaining it, but until somebody sees it played, you're just not going to fully understand. And that's why I really like these videos like Girls Game Shelf and like Watch It Played that actually go and play the game. Watch It Played is definitely more of a edited breakdown of playing the game. Is Girls Game Shelf? I haven't seen any of these yet. I'm gonna have to go check some of them out. Is it more of it? Does it feel more like of a natural, like a natural playthrough, like to where it's like you're not seeing them editing this thing up and chopping it into pieces, or is it like kind of like a like a tabletop with Will Wheaton type thing,
It is more of a they only have the one camera angle.
right?
Everybody's just sitting there playing the game. Really, they may cut pieces out of a really long game,
Sure.
but other than that, it's just they got a group together. They played the game. They talked about it as they were doing things. What you would want to see,
That's
you'd
awesome.
want to see how the game breaks down, how the rules apply to certain situations. Because when you're explaining a game, you can say, okay, this is a turn. You do this, you do this. You know, you have this many actions and blah blah blah. But until certain situations pop up,
Yeah.
it's hard to explain that rule. And getting to watch somebody play the game um, allows that to happen. The rule, the part where, and a lot of people can confirm this, the part where I have to dig back through the rule book and find it again, or I misremembered what happens when certain things happen, that's where you get to see that take place.
Yeah.
You know, we did this and this happened, and like on Legendary Buffy or something, when a villain escapes, certain things happen.
Right.
So that would have been a perfect situation for me to go, oh well, we just moved the darkness track and we're done, or may even forget to move the darkness track.
Yep.
It's those kinds of things until you see actually somebody play it, and you're like, oh, okay, I need to remember to do that.
Yep.
That kind of thing, and that's what they do. It's more organic, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very good. Very good. One of the last ones that we've got on here, that is kind of become one of my cult favorites, and I found them through Facebook of all places. Never really went and searched them out. They um, they actually how I found them was they liked Geekvice. That is how I found GameWire with Bebo. She liked Geekvice. They liked one of our episodes where we talked about playing some game. She
She must have
liked
been
it.
drunk.
Apparently, I don't know why, but she liked one of our podcast episodes, and now she shows up on my Facebook feed a lot, and she is awesome.
She is
She's
awesome.
she
She
is
was she was on my list as well.
yeah. This she is. I I think one of my favorite things about Bebo and and her videos is um I'm gonna steal this straight from some of the stuff you had put in the show notes about it. She loves doing this. Like I don't. I mean, when I met you, I knew that like you said you liked board games and that you were a big fan of board games. And then we started playing games, and I saw your collection and your passion for board games. No offense, Kip, but Bebo's passion for board games puts your passion to shame, man.
Oh,
She
it does.
she is all over this stuff.
Well, she's one of those people that smiles with her entire face. So when she's happy, you could be able to tell that she's completely happy about something. There's an episode where it's just her singing a song that she wrote about how board games changed her life. Just watch that video and you'll just get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, when she's playing, you can't tell by playing a game with me or talking about board games with me how passionate about it I really am. Because I'm a more reserved person, I don't show my cards. She's the opposite. She's not reserved. She shows her cards. You're watching the video and you become passionate about, even though it's like she's actually playing a game I don't like, and now all of a sudden I want to play this game because she's just enjoying it that much. And I just love watching that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I also got to give her credit. Um, some of her videos that she puts up on that I see through our Facebook feed, and that's part of the why. If you follow Geekvice on Facebook, you will see her videos on there because when they come across my feed and I like them, I immediately put them on the Geekvice one because I want everybody to see them. She, like sometimes some of her videos are for games that aren't even out yet. I've watched several of her videos where it's like this game comes out next week or this game comes out at the, in a couple months, and I immediately go on to Amazon and I go add them to my wish list so that I can get notifications when they get put out there because it's like, man, that looks so cool. There's gosh, and I should have done more research for this, but there is one of them that is I think it's Ice School. I'll look for it while we're talking about it, but she did a review of that game, and her reviews.
Is that the one with her daughter?
No. No,
Okay.
but that the one that she did with her daughter was adorable too. Um, but her reviews are they're just like what you're I don't know, just like what you were talking about with Sit Up and Shut Down about being brutally honest. Like her reviews, like they're with usually the maker of the game, and she kind of there's been a couple of them where she almost she asks those tough questions. She's like, well, what about this? And how do you do this? And like, what happens when this happens? And kind of almost like makes you can tell there's a couple times, and sometimes it's the game publisher not being as comfortable talking, explaining things as well as she can. But like her games are they're just great, and I love watching her review these games and getting people talking about these games. That game I was thinking of it's called Ice Cool, and it's a dexterity uh, a dexterity game where you're trying to flick these little penguins through a 3D
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
schoolhouse, and you're trying to knock pieces around, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I tag that thing, and it might end up at my house at some holiday towards the end of this year, just because I think it would be so much fun to sit down and play with my kids. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was one that she reviewed before it was even out, and I thought it was just great. I loved it.
Very cool. Yeah, it's nice to see games like that on there where you wouldn't have thought about a game called Ice Cool. Well, at least I wouldn't have
Yeah.
until you actually see it played, and you're like, okay, I get it.
Or even the like the game, the Super Mario board game, like Super Mario Brothers board game that she reviewed, and when I saw it, I had seen it previously on other, like, just in advertisements and stuff that show up on the side of web pages, and I was like, Super Mario board game, that's just not going to be right. And then I watched her talk about it and kind of play through a little bit of it with the creator, and I was just like, huh, I might need to get that. Like, and I don't know, maybe she's probably really bad for my pocketbook, is because a lot of
Yeah,
the
you got to be careful with that.
yeah, a lot of the games she reviews, she's just so passionate about them, and seems to enjoy them so much that you're just like, if I could enjoy it half as much as her, um, I that my life would be great. So
Exactly. It's again just like I mentioned with Shut Up and Sit Down. There's an entertainment value to her show. Um, and like I said, there's a joy to it that you just watch and you just feel better, even if you didn't even care about the game. Plus, she's had her daughter do a couple of reviews. It's pretty adorable stuff. So,
yeah,
um, if you're ever feeling down and you want to know about a board game, check out GameWire. You'll feel instantly good, and you'll want to buy a board game.
there you go. What else do you got there, Kip?
Well, I only wanted to put three down, but I have an honorable mention that I want to bring up, and it's a show called Game Night, and it is more of a it's a how to play and a playthrough all in one, and the episodes tend to be pretty long. That's why I only made it an honorable mention on this one, but um, I do watch a few of their episodes. Okay, so more than a few. I've watched quite a few of their episodes. But it's a group of friends, and it's a little bit more polished in the recording. They've got like three camera angles. They got the one directly above the board, one showing one side of the table, the other camera pointing to people at on the other side. So you get to see the interaction and the board, and you get to learn the rules, and you get to see it played, and they're fun watching them. It's fun watching them play a board game. Uh, they at the beginning, they always start off with whoever introduces the game. They're like, "Hey, Dave, can you show us how to play?" And then whatever the game is, it's a big cheeseball line, but I love it. And then that person explains the game. And when he gets done explaining, you're still like, "I'm not really sure I know how to play this game." And then they play. And then it's like, "Oh, I get it now." As the turns happen and as they go around. A good show like that will do two things for me. One, let me know if I really would like a game, and two, save me money on a game I was thinking about, and then watch it play like, "Oh, I'm glad I watched this played because I don't think I'll like this game."
Yeah.
So they're one of those shows that does that for me. Cool thing about them is I think they are part of the Dice Tower network, but they still feel like they just showed up to somebody's house and they're playing a game. They just happen to have cameras,
Yeah.
which I like. I got to meet one of them at Gen Con. They had a big. Actually, they're part of the Board Game Geek Network. That's where they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went up to there and I got to meet Lincoln. He's a pretty cool guy. So, honorable mention: if you have over an hour to watch a game being played, they're the perfect ones. If you're like me and you're like, "I have 20 minutes to learn these rules," I'm going to watch a different one.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you have the time, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So that was my honorable mention. Check them out. Game Night. They're always on Board Game Geek. You can always find their videos there.
Right.
I don't know if the other ones do. I always go straight to YouTube for the other ones.
Yeah, I don't. I think I've seen Watch It Played on Board Game Geek, but a lot of the times, I mean, honestly, I find them because I found a lot of these by accident because I just did a search on Google saying, I'm looking for how to play this game, and like Watch It Played would show up, and kind of like I mentioned before, GameWire showed up on my Facebook feed. I'd never heard about it until then, and now it's like I go searching for GameWire stuff. So it's sometimes it's a little organic on how you find some of these, and then once you find them, you're just locked in. Always
Yeah.
just keep trying to go back to them because just like anything else, if you support them by watching them, clicking on advertisements, things like that, that gives them those little added boosts. Like and subscribe to their channels. I've gone and subscribed to both Watch It Played and GameWire. I'll have to go see if I can't. I'll have to go check out Girls Game Shelf, and I don't think I've done Shut Up and Sit Down. I need to do that too. But subscribing to those things, much like subscribing to Geekvice, if you subscribe to them on YouTube, if you subscribe to them through iTunes and however else you get your videos, but clicking those like buttons and clicking subscribe helps those people know that there are people that are enjoying their videos. and they'll keep making stuff like that. So that's kind of the important thing behind that. I would be completely and utterly uh, remiss if I did not mention probably one of the most, um, I would say probably the most popular game played slash review video that doesn't get made nearly enough, but is really good when it's done, and that's Will Wheaton's Tabletop.
Agreed.
I mean, first of all, you have just Will Wheaton's writing involved in it is incredible. The way he explains things, and then the way they do their editing to break stuff down so that you can kind of understand, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, and this is how I'm gonna do this, is really good. And I watch all of them. I've watched every single episode of Tabletop. I've watched every single extended edition of Tabletop. Um, those videos, they make me laugh. They entertain me. They teach me about games, and they too are. I'll watch a game played there, and I'll be like, this one could really work, and make me do some more research on whether or not that game will fit into what I'm looking for, whether it's, playing it with other adult friends or if it's playing with my kids. I mean, they've played a few games on there that there's no way my kids would sit still long enough or be able to comprehend the game that they're playing. But then there's some that, yeah, they could really enjoy that. And Mice and
Yeah.
Mystics, that's where the first place I found Mice and Mystics was on Tabletop. So
Yeah, I always have to tell people uh, it's more of a caution. These people are actors,
yes,
and they could make the most mundane game look like a hell of a lot of fun to play.
yes,
And so just keep that in mind,
yep,
because I've watched them play some games that bore the hell out of me, but they make it look like a heck of a lot of fun. So just keep that in mind. Tabletop could cost you a hell of a lot of money
yes.
otherwise.
Yes, it could. Yes, and that's a very good point to keep in mind, because yeah, they're and some of it is the interaction between them. And I would also throw out there that, along that same line, that you could take the most boring game, but if you get a group of friends together that enjoy just the banter and the just diving into the game and playing, just having fun no matter what you're doing, you can turn a really boring game into a lot of fun. And I think not only are those guys actors, but I think those people really like playing. They really like being around each other. Not necessarily playing the game, but just being around each other. The way they interact and banter and badger. And I mean, really, honestly, watching people make fun of Will Wheaton for 30 to 40 minutes. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I would love to sit at a table and just like, make fun of Will Wheaton's dice rolls. So you hear that, Will Wheaton? You can invite me and Kip to be on next season of Tabletop. We can play Flapjacks and Sasquatches. How about that?
I like this idea. Not enough people play flapjacks and Sasquatches, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. That's right. We need to. Oh, maybe we need to start reaching out to all these reviewers and tell them that they need to go get that game and review it on their sites. So we're going to build up flapjacks and Sasquatches to the point where John and Bill are going to be indebted to us forever.
I like this plan as well. They may not like it so much, but hey, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for it. It's gonna come within the next before the next recording. I'm gonna get an email from Bill going, really, really, guys.
Yeah. Hi, Bill.
Yeah. So I think that is probably a good spot for tonight. You got anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap this thing up?
Oh man, it's going to be a long week.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll have something to talk about next week since it's just me and the books I'm taking to Grand Island that's going to keep me entertained at night. So it's not going to be very exciting. So I may have finished a book and be able to talk about that. I don't know. We'll find
There you
out. Stay
go.
tuned.
All right, we'll have to come up with something for next week then. So, all right, everybody, thanks for listening to this episode of Geekvice. You can check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel at tiny.cc/geekvice. Do that so that we know you like watching our stuff. Go give our videos a like, our podcasts a like. Go review us on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you're watching this, listening to us. Go review us, write a review up. Give us some stars so that we know that there are people that are enjoying what we're doing. You can follow us on Twitter, that man over there, at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And as always, you can reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram. Don't forget
Oh,
that.
that's right. I need to add that. What is our Instagram thing?
Geekvice, surprisingly.
Oh, hey, go check us out on Instagram at Geekvice. I have no idea
So
what
you can see
Instagram
pictures
is.
of board games.
That guy is the one in charge of the Instagram account. I don't even know what it is, so I'm gonna have to do some looking into that.
It's pictures of board games.
So, yeah, go follow us on Instagram then.
See, there's one of my pictures of Buffy.
Oh, there you go. I'm gonna have to. I don't even have Instagram, so I'll have to do something about that. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.